I'm Nick Altmeyer with linkinglewiscounty.com. We're here this morning with Ryan Piche, County Manager for Lewis County, and we're here for our monthly sit-down where we talk a little bit about what's going to be going on at tomorrow night's board meeting. Guess the first thing to bring up probably is that the board meeting will be held in a special location. We'll still be at the regular 5 o'clock time, but we'll be at the Harrisville Fire Hall tomorrow night. So if you want to talk a little bit about the reasoning behind that.
Sure. Well, if you remember last month, we were over in Croghan to honor longtime legislator Mike Taybolt, who was chairman of the board for many years. Well, continuing that tradition, I suppose, maybe a new tradition we're starting, we're up in Harrisville to honor Phil Hathaway, who has been on the Board of Legislators for 8 years. He was chairman of the Ways and Means Committee for many years, and just a great public servant, and put a lot of time and energy into the governance of Lewis County. And so we're up in his neck of the woods to kind of recognize him and honor him for all of his years of commitment to the county.
Great. And like we said, we'll still have the same start time, so 5 p.m. at the Harrisville Fire Hall. Looking through some of the resolutions that were on the agenda for tomorrow night's meeting. Looks like a lot of end of the year business, re-signing some new contracts, not a whole lot of, nothing really crazy on there. No, you guys have been really busy with budgeting.
Yes.
So you guys are going to unveil the preliminary budget tomorrow night.
Yep.
And it'll be the first time the legislators see that.
Yep, so it'll be what we call in our budget process the tentative budget, which is submitted to the Board of Legislators by the budget officer, which is me, the county manager. We've been working really closely in hand with the legislators, making sure that their priorities are captured in the budget, and particularly the Ways and Means Committee. And of course, our budgeting team with Patty O'Brien, the treasurer, has been very closely involved. So that'll be on the table for the legislators to review. Once it's open for public comment, basically, once it's submitted to the legislators, it gets open for public comment. We will accept public comment, including a public hearing, which we'll have right here on November 16th. And the legislators, once the budget is turned over to them, will have an opportunity to make any adjustments or changes that they'd like. And then they would proceed to adopt that at one of our December meetings. So that's basically the process, and we're excited to get it going here tomorrow.
So, and you do bring up on November 16th, there will be a special legislator meeting, and that'll be at 5 p.m. Here at the courthouse in Lowville. At that time, there will be a public hearing on the tentative budget that we were just talking about. And there's also a local law overriding the tax levy limit, the 2% tax cap, that you guys will be that the board will be voting on tomorrow night. We always like to explain, you guys do this every year, and it's just kind of a something that you do just in case you need it. It doesn't mean that you're planning on exceeding the tax cap. And I think you said right now, the budget numbers that you have before it goes to the board for their approval, at this point, it's not exceeding the tax cap, but that kind of gives them a little bit of room in case something comes up or something was unforeseen, and if you need to. I think in years past what they do is after the final budget is passed, then they go ahead and rescind this law to make,
Right. So it's, you're exactly right, Nick. We pass it every year just in preparation if we need to go over the tax cap, if the legislators feel that there's some needs of the county that aren't addressed in the proposed budget, and they feel that there's some things that they would like to fund. So we pass that resolution to make sure we're prepared to go over the tax cap, but as it stands now, the tentative budget, I can tell you, does not propose to go over the tax cap. So it's something that we do as a security blanket to make sure that we have all options available to us through the budgeting process.
Okay. And I think we discussed a little bit that we might do 2 sessions this month, so we might sit down before the budget, before the budget meeting on the 16th to talk a little bit about the budget, but can't really get into the details yet because the legislators haven't seen it yet.
Well, they get to see it first.
They get to see it first, for sure. But just a little bit for the background, obviously being new this year, this is your first attempt at the budget on the county level. So did you want to talk just a little bit about how that whole process went and how you're feeling coming out of your first budget process?
Well, as Nick said, it is my first year here in Lewis County, but I'm no stranger to public budgeting, right. Something that I've done throughout my career. But I have to say the department heads here are really unbelievable. Their requests are very modest. We've got a good tradition here of being very responsible with our requests and the way we spend the public tax dollars. So they were really a pleasure to work with. They made the process very easy. Treasurer Patty O'Brien is a true expert. I mean, she knows this county's books forwards and backwards. So, being able to work with her just makes everything a whole lot easier. I'm confident with what we put forward. I think that this is how the process is supposed to work. We propose something, we turn it over to the board, and it's up to them to, determine what they'd like to do with it. So I'm confident with what we're going to be turning over is going to be close to where we'll end up, I think. But at the same time, that's how democracy works. The elected legislators get to have their say and have their time with it, and I'm eager to see how our plan for next year turns out.
Great. All right. Another topic that we see that is going to come up with the board tomorrow night is the class. I don't know if we're calling it a class action. It kind of seems like a class action lawsuit against the opioid industry. Yes. So I know you wanted to talk a little bit about that and explain what the reasoning behind that is and what that whole process involves.
So the County Attorneys Association of New York State has been encouraging or supporting some legislation that basically is, like you said, a class action lawsuit that would allow counties to go after some of the opioid manufacturers who perhaps weren't as truthful with the addictiveness of their product as they should have been. To me, it's very similar to the tobacco lawsuits that you saw maybe in the early 2000s, late 90s, where you saw some government entities coming together to go after the tobacco companies that had perhaps unfairly pushed their products onto the citizens of our county. So it's an interesting proposition, and I suspect the board will have a few different opinions on the topic, but something that we certainly should be discussing, and I'm glad that the county attorney brought it to the table.
And it looks like there's already a number of counties in New York State that are already on board. Cayuga, Columbia, Fulton, Greene, Oswego, Rockland, Ulster, Wyoming, Broome, Dutchess, Erie, Orange, Schenectady, Seneca, St. Lawrence, Suffolk, and Sullivan. So it's not something that Lewis County just kind of came up with on their own. This would be a group effort with the other counties in the state, and no one's really paying any kind of fee to the law firm unless there's some kind of settlement reached.
And that's the important thing to note, Nick, is that it's at no cost to the county unless the case is won and there's a settlement paid out, and in that case, a proportion of our costs would come out of the settlement. But it's not something that's going to cost us anything up front, so that's important to know.
All right. And it looks like the last topic that I kind of have was the retainer for the Ayers Law Firm for professional consult and legal services with respect to recreation trails, ATV, and UTV access. So you were going to talk a little bit about what that was about.
So that's a retainer for up to $10,000 of legal work that we would hire out for a particular parcel of land in the town of Martinsburg. There's an old railroad bed there, the GW Railroad parcel, and that railroad parcel has a lot of different easements for recreation and for logging and for other types of things, and we're just asking for a little bit of expertise to help us pull all those deeds and pull together basically the feasibility of trying to pursue some more trails in that parcel, and something that'd be tough for us to do in-house. So we're asking for a little help with that to see if it's worth pursuing.
All right. Also, I guess I had one more topic to bring up.
Sure.
It's a little bit off topic, but tomorrow's election day,
Yeah.
so I just didn't know if you wanted to address everybody as far as there are 3 contested races for a county legislator. Excuse me. So we'll have at least, and we have the 3 outgoing legislators. Chairman Mike Table will not be coming back. Phil Hathaway is not running again, and Craig Brennan also not running again. So, and then in District 5 we have a contested race with Dick Chartrand and Eric Griffin. So we're looking at least 3 new legislators on the board next year, with the possibility of maybe 4.
Sure.
So just I didn't know if you wanted to address the importance of getting out to vote, and there's lots of little local races going on top of the. I mean, we don't have the sheriff or the DA, none of the big county races this year, but all 10 legislative districts are up for election. So just kind of important to.
It really is important. Off-year elections are important for your local towns and villages and counties, and I don't have any comment on particular races or who's running for what, but
that's not what we were asking.
No, I understand. Yeah. But it is important to get out and vote and take part in your local elections, because a lot of the decisions that affect people more directly are made at the local level, and it's what makes what we do here, to me, so exciting. Right. So it might not be the president or members of Congress, but it is very important to Lewis County. So we hope everybody takes the time and gets out and votes.
And that's what I always like to tell people too. It's not only your right to vote; it's your responsibility.
That's right.
So
yeah.
A lot of people, have a lot of things to say about various issues, and the time to speak is at the ballot box and when you're casting your ballot. So
that's right.
So we hope to see everybody tomorrow night. Again, the meeting's going to be at Harrisville Fire Hall, and it starts at 5 p.m. And we will be honoring Legislator Phil Hathaway for his 8 years of service to the board. So really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today, Ryan.
Yeah.
And we'll see you again in a few weeks to talk about the budget.
Sounds good.
All right.